Hey, what's going on? My name is Royce. I've got somewhat of a tutorial here. Oh, I forgot to tell you what I wanted you to do. I'm going to be talking about the game Star Wars X-Wing. It's a miniatures dogfighting type game that's pretty new, and I guess a lot of people tend to have questions about this, so I want to do a little video about this. And this video is all about obstacles. Now in the game, everything you see here are the obstacles included. These are all the asteroid pieces here, and I'm going to explain everything you need to know about movement through, moving near, and all that kind of good stuff with asteroids. Okay, so in the most basic kind of example, we're going to use this kind of a setup. The TIE Fighter has chosen to move 3 forward, and so what happens, you're going to take your 3 measurement and move them 3 forward. Now since he moves through an obstacle, he's still going to be able to complete his move as normal. It's still going to be considered a green movement because the TIE Fighter goes 3 and it's a green. But the only thing is now, since his base overlaps the asteroid, he's going to roll 1 attack dice. Now no matter what happens on the attack dice is what you have to follow. If he rolled a damage, he'd be given 1 damage token, or if he had a shield, just remove a shield. Or if he rolled a critical hit, he'd be given a damage card face up, or again, if he had a shield, you would just minus 1 shield. Anytime during movement, the base of the actual, the base of the ship, if it overlaps it, or if it's anything like that, you're going to do the same kind of thing. You're going to roll 1 attack dice and do the damage there. Or if the base, let's say he tried to move out of the way, just doing that, since the movement ruler is overlapping the asteroid, the same thing's going to happen. You're going to roll for that damage, you know, no matter what. Even though the base of the ship isn't going to be on top of it, it doesn't matter. You're still going to roll for that attack. The other thing that happens is if you move through an asteroid or land on top of an asteroid, is that you will not get to perform your perform action step. It's not saying that you're not going to be able to use any actions or take any actions, because some cards and abilities grant free actions, but you're not going to be able to perform an action during your normal perform action. Normally you'd move and then you could perform one of your actions shown on the base or on the card that you can perform. But in this case, because he moves through an asteroid, he's not going to be able to perform that action, and he's going to have to roll for that attack. Okay, now let's say this, for example, and it's going to be rare that something like this would happen because of obstacle setup, but let's say the TIE Fighter decides to move up 5, which would be kind of silly, but either way. So here we go. Moving the template. Already we can see the template is already overlapping an asteroid. He's going to move forward his 5, and when he completes his turn, his base is going to be overlapping another asteroid. So what does this mean? Does this mean that he has to roll 2 attack dice or something like that? No, it's going to be treated just as though he moved through 1. Same thing, you're going to roll 1 attack dice. In this case, he's going to receive a damage. He's going to skip his perform action step, and one other thing. Let's examine this. When the base of your ship is overlapping an asteroid, doesn't matter if it's a lot, if it's a little, if it's overlapping an asteroid, you're not going to be able to do a combat action this turn. In other words, you're not going to be able to shoot at other ships. Even if it overlaps just by a little bit, just by a small margin, if it's overlapping, you're not going to be able to do a combat. You're not going to be able to shoot anybody else. So it's very important to know how to move around these asteroids. Alright, now in this example, using the A-Wing, let's say the A-Wing decides he wants to move up 3. So, put the template down, and even though the template's not moving through the asteroid, he's going to wind up on top of the asteroid. So, for this round, you'd have to roll 1 attack dice. He takes a critical damage, and he's going to skip his perform action step, and he's not going to be able to attack this turn. Next turn, let's see what happens. So, no matter what happens now, he once again is going to be moving through an asteroid since the template is overlapping an asteroid. He's going to move forward 3, he's going to roll another attack die, getting a focus this time, so he's lucked out, but he's still not going to be able to perform an action this turn. He's going to be able to attack, which is good, but still, just something to think about. If you land on top of an asteroid and you move through it the next turn, you're going to have to do the same. You're going to roll attack die and not be able to perform an action during your perform an action step. If you land on an asteroid like here, in which the template is not going to be covering the asteroid on your next turn, you're not going to have to roll. You're not going to take any damage or anything like that. You can still perform your action, all the good stuff that comes with that. All right, now for this next example, which is very unlikely but still a possibility. Let's say the A-wing decides he wants to try to bank left 3. Well, as we can see, this is going to cause him to overlap the slave 1. He's going to move forward as best as he can, but he's going to have to stop early. And unfortunately, even though the template didn't overlap the asteroid, he stops when he crashes into him, so he's already touching him. So because of that, he's already not going to take an action, but now he's on top of the asteroid. So he's once again going to roll 1 attack dice. In this case, gets lucky, gets a focus, but it could have been a damage or a critical or something like that. And he's not going to be able to attack anyone. Whereas if he just crashed into the slave 1, well, it's not the slave 1, but if he crashed into this ship, he could have still attacked, just not this ship. Well, let's go into some ways that asteroids can actually help you. Alright, in this example, we can see the mighty Millennium Falcon versus one of these lowly TIE fighters. Well, you might think the TIE fighter's not going to have much of an advantage here in attacking, but let's take a look at this. If the Millennium Falcon wants to shoot on this TIE fighter, he's going to measure his range. He's going to be at range 1, which will give him an extra attack dice, but since he's shooting through an obstacle, the TIE fighter is going to get an additional evade dice to roll. Now, it does not change his actual evade or agility number. It just gives him an agility dice to roll, no matter what. So even if you have an effect that were to zero out your agility or even double zero out or something like that, no matter what, you're going to be able to roll at least 1 agility dice if you're getting shot out through an obstacle. Now, a player might try to get crafty and say, well, hey, I can shoot here and it's not going to cross. Just like with any kind of combat, you measure from the closest point on their base to the closest point on your base. So in this case, no matter what, you're going to be going through that obstacle, so you're going to get that bonus. Another thing to remember about this, just like when it was with moving, if you're shooting through 2 obstacles or something like that, you're still only going to get the 1 extra agility dice for this turn. So it's good, and you know, it's okay. So even if someone's shooting at you with a secondary weapon that would normally negate the 3 range additional dice, you still roll 1 because it's shooting through an obstacle. Anytime you're shooting through an obstacle, the defender will get an additional agility die, and only 1, no matter how many obstacles are in the way or anything like that. Alright, so in this example, it's going to be a very specific situation, but it's something to think about. The A-wing is going to move forward 2, but what happens when he moves forward 2? Well, he's going to crash into the asteroid, so he's going to have to roll the attack die. Looks like he's going to be taking a damage. And he set himself up so he can't perform an action during his perform action step, and during combat he's not going to be able to shoot since he's on top of an asteroid. So kind of lame. And not only that, but the next time he moves, he's going to be moving through the asteroid, so he's going to have to roll attack again, and he's not going to be able to perform an action during his perform action step. But we have a saving factor here. Using Lando and the YT-1300, he's going to execute a green forward motion. So, moving forward, puts him right there. And something very specific about his card is that Lando, it says, after executing a green maneuver, choose 1 other friendly ship at range 1. That ship may perform 1 free action shown in its action bar. Since the A-Wing is clearly in range 1, he's going to be able to perform an action in his action bar. So let's, for this example, boost. Put the range ruler there, moving forward 1, and guess what? Hey, he gets to attack this turn. One thing you want to know about boost and barrel roll too, because it's going to be the same way with the barrel roll, is that a boost or barrel roll is not considered executing a maneuver. It's considered an action, not executing a maneuver. Since the wording on the rules is that when executing a maneuver, if the template overlaps an obstacle, then you roll the damage and all that. But since this is not executing a maneuver, he's going to be able to boost on out of that. And he, number 1, is going to be able to attack this turn. And number 2, next round, he's not going to have to roll attack and all that other crazy stuff. So this was a good save by Lando. Now, one thing to remember when using a boost or a barrel roll, you are not going to be able to complete it if you're going to be landing on top of an obstacle or crashing into another ship or something like that. So if you just wanted to boost or something like that, you wouldn't be able to boost. Or let's say an example like this, you're on top of the obstacle, you can't boost if you're going to still be on top of the obstacle. Same as the barrel roll. It's going to be the same thing with the barrel roll. You can't, if you're on top of the asteroid and you grant a free action to barrel roll or something like that, you're not going to be able to barrel roll on top of it again. So you're not going to even be able to do that action. Now, something you can do, which is going to be kind of situational as well. Let's say one of these smaller asteroids, if you're close enough to it and the one range will allow it, you can actually boost over it. Since it's not considered executing a maneuver, you're going to be able to boost or barrel roll over it without taking any kind of penalty. So having that extra boost and having that extra barrel roll, it may be pretty situational, but it can help you maybe with a strategy or something like that to where you're not running into asteroids. So maybe you move up 4 or 5 or something like that, you boost over the asteroid and you avoid it altogether. Or if you're trying to run away from somebody, the same thing. You get as close to the asteroid as you can, hopefully you can boost over it, and now you're going to get some cover. So some kind of neat ways to use asteroids while boosting, barrel rolling, attacking, and all that. So it kind of really plays into strategy a lot. Now, the very absolute last bit on this video I want to go over is the context of overlapping or touching. This isn't just going to be for the asteroids, it's going to be for ships as well. In this example, we're going to have the A-Wing. I don't even know if it can do a 1, but let's say it moves forward 1. We're going to drop it down at the end of it. Now, the A-Wing appears to be touching the asteroid. It looks as though the A-Wing's base and the asteroid are so close that they're actually touching. Now, the problem with this is, and it's in the frequently asked questions part of the Fantasy Flight's website. If a ship's base does not overlap another base or an object, they are not considered touching for game purposes. So in this situation, the A-Wing would not have to roll the dice, he would not have to skip his perform action step, and he could still combat if he could do his combat phase if he wanted to. So I just want to clarify that. Now, there might be some questions and some people who don't like this necessarily, but unfortunately that's just the game. That's just how it is explained. Now, let's say an example, you're moving it and you're very clumsy about it, and you knock the asteroid out of the way. Even if you don't do it on purpose, I'd say a good rule of thumb is to go ahead, probably move the asteroid back a bit, and just go ahead and consider that overlapping, because it's really not fair to the other player if you continuously move your ships very clumsily and say, oops, well, I don't know, they're not touching. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you're doing it on purpose, but the thing is, take some extra precaution while moving the ship. The best thing is to just try to avoid the asteroid as best as possible, but I know you can't really do that. So if you were to accidentally clumsily hit it or something like that, just you're overlapping it. It's not that big of a deal. Just try to stay further away from them. The main thing about this game is that all the components, they're gonna move. They're gonna move throughout the game since you're touching everything. Like there's no way to avoid it. And you know, the best way to do it is just be an adult about it. You know, be courteous about it. If you know you accidentally move your ship or something, try to get it back to where it was and ask the other player, make sure it's okay. For the most part, it should be. If you're playing with someone who's very particular about it, well then they probably shouldn't be playing X-Wing, because that's just kind of part of the game. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this overview of obstacles and asteroids in general. Leave any of your comments or questions in the comment section on the YouTube video. Happy shooting!